Hi, everyone. I have Cindy Elwell from Divorce with Dignity here to talk today. And so, hi, Cindy. I'm hoping you can tell us all about what you do and who you are.
Great. Well, it's so nice to be with you, Susan. And I'm glad that we are able to work together and hold our couples as they go through this transition. I founded Divorce with Dignity in 1995. And at that time, I was working in the accounting field, but I was doing a lot of work on studying a motivational expert, Stephen Covey, in First Things First, and doing a lot of visioning and planning and figuring out what the next stage of my life should be. And the words divorce with dignity kept coming through. And I really resonated as my divorce had been very difficult. I'd had an attorney and kept fighting and going to court over the issue of private school. And I kept losing because I think most courts want to feel that they should support the public school system. Finally, I took my ex-husband out to lunch and said, "Do you really want your children going to the public school?" We lived in San Francisco at the time, and it was very difficult to get your children, both children, into a good public school. And he agreed to share in the cost of sending them to the private school, which they had been attending. So I realized that at that point, the court was not the best place to address these issues and to make these decisions which affect a family so dearly. So I founded Divorce with Dignity with the hope to be able to hold people through the process and provide them with a lot of referrals. And it's my belief that we are much better making our own decisions about our private lives than leaving it in the hands of the legal system. We know what we want, and people, I believe in marriage very strongly, but I don't believe that people should stay in unhappy relationships. My belief is also that our children know, possibly before we do, that things aren't right and this isn't love as we want our children to experience, and ourselves. We all should be happy and be able to love the way we choose. And people do tend to grow apart. Relationships are wonderful and they do take work. And some of us, and I can include myself, don't always do the work required, and we do just move apart. We all have our different path. And if we're really unhappy and need to divorce, I believe that we know it inside. Mm-hmm. And so I always ask people to check in with their heart and whatever and decide what's the best outcome for me.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a story, like what kind of work you've done with a couple divorcing that really emphasized, or actually you got to achieve your goal of seeing them divorced with dignity?
Yes, a long-term marriage. They had 4 boys and they'd been married, I think, 40 years, and they loved each other dearly, but they each felt they had to go their separate ways. They weren't meeting each other's needs on an intimate basis. So we did their divorce. She was an artist and he was in the corporate world. And they still, to this day, they do annual vacations together in Hawaii. They have a timeshare that they still own jointly, and the whole family goes. The whole family was very supportive during the process. And it's difficult. It was a long-term marriage, and in a marriage of that length, you have to sort out all your assets and debts and figure out who's going to get what. And it can be very complicated. But they were able to make these educated decisions for themselves so that they each felt that they got what they needed to move forward in their new directions. Yet they come together still for vacations and family holidays, and it's a wonderful experience.
I love that. I love that. The Divorce with Dignity. It's such a powerful name.
Right.
Name.
And most of my clients actually want to do more than the law requires to support their children and to make it easier on one another to part. I'm currently working with couples who, very high-end couples, who are each figuring out how to move forward. And during the pandemic, it's very difficult. But they've figured out a way to live in the same town together. And right now, neither of them has any income. So they're living off their savings for the next year or two in order to reestablish their own ways forward, because they've been jointly supporting each other in their business, and they're changing their careers as well. So there's a
It's a real
lot.
coming together to separate. What I'm hearing is these stories that you're telling are coming together to separate.
Yes, and it's not easy, but it's so helpful if they have the support they need, such as the therapist that you provide. And you get, if you need a financial planner or a CPA, we'll help refer them out so they can get tax decisions and things like that. But we can make decisions about our own life if we know what's at stake, and if we understand what we need to move forward, both emotionally and financially, in order.
What would you say to a couple that was in a situation that they were trying to decide how to get through a financial and legal divorce separation period? What would you say to give them hope?
I ask them to keep checking in with themselves and to get the support they need to feel that they're doing the right thing. There's a lot of guilt associated with getting a divorce, but you have to look out for yourself and your children and know that you are doing the right thing. And of course, we all have doubts and misgivings, but if you feel in your heart that this is the right way to go, it's complicated, but it doesn't have to be. In our practice, we try to simplify it so that, and help you go one step at a time, so that you can make these steps knowing you're doing the right thing. And when you do it through Divorce with Dignity, you're helping yourself and your partner and your children, because you're going to do what's right for the family. You're not going to leave it in the hands of the legal system and fight over things that don't need fighting over, because you can make the decisions if you know the facts. So I help them emotionally, usually by trying to make sure that they have the support they need during this process, and then help them understand what the decisions that they need to make. And if they need professional help to make those decisions, we refer them out to get that help. And then they come back and they know all the facts and what they need based on their needs. There's always going to be compromise. So as long as they're open to compromising and doing what's best, they have to take care of themselves right now. It's also
so empowering the individual and the couple to make the best decisions for their family.
Yes.
And simplifying the process so it's not scary, and
Right.
it's something that they are out of control with. Like, they're not handing their decisions over to somebody. They're really inquiring within to decide what is it that they need to do that's going to be the best outcome for their family, for their legacy.
Exactly. And they are going to work together to make these decisions. And it's very difficult when you're going through a divorce to communicate with each other. But our offices are neutral parties to help facilitate the process. And it's easier to talk to somebody, a third person, often than talk to each other. So we help you understand the process and know what's at stake, and then decide what you need and what your partner needs. Both of you decide that, and then you can make the best decisions, which will usually.
It's amazing that the work that you do, and I'm so glad that your offices are available nationally. I think that's an amazing gift that you're giving the community and people who are in the situation that they're needing to separate. So thank you so much for your conversation today with me. It's always good to see you. And I hope that people will use your resource, because I think it's really a powerful one, Divorce with Dignity.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. It's nice to see you too. Bye.